So, as we were saying, Sheriff Bianco, my very, very favorite elected official. I'm a huge fan. He does such a good job. And wanted to have him come on the phone and talk about the fact that he just announced that the 40,000th CCW was issued in Riverside County, and that 37,000 of those 40,000 have been issued while he's been the sheriff. And he's only been the sheriff of Riverside County for 5-6 years, Sheriff. Is that right?
That's correct. 5 years now.
5 years. Congratulations, Sheriff. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Sorry I'm a little bit late.
That's okay. I appreciate you coming on and talking about this enormous milestone. So tell us about it. What first off, confirm, is that right? It's 40,000 and 37,000 of them were issued by you?
Yes, a little bit more than that, but those are the numbers. It's like 40,000, couple hundred, and then 37,000, couple hundred were issued by me since I took over. So, yes.
And Alicia's question was, if somebody applies today, you know, they start the process today. They haven't done anything, but they start the process today, and they pretty much do everything right. When are they going to actually have their card in their hand?
That's a tough question, especially right now, but you're probably looking at 30 days, 60 days. I wouldn't guess that it'd take longer than that. We're running into a real problem now in that because of the new law that's taking effect in at the beginning of 2024, we had tons of people applying. So we're definitely booked up solid for the next month, maybe even 2 months. So you're looking roughly 2 months. I hope it wouldn't go 90 days.
That's amazing. Now,
He
why?
opens that with an apology that it takes that long.
I know.
Yes.
Why? Okay, is the DOJ, the California DOJ, are they not a hurdle in this, or why? I talked to.
Well,
go ahead. Talk about the DOJ.
They are a hurdle sometimes. It's so bizarre. They only have a couple of people working in DOJ firearms, and so. You do your fingerprints. Everyone has to do fingerprints, and that's usually the hurdle. And we tell people that it could take several months before they get a return back. But it's so bizarre that sometimes we'll get a return back in a couple of days, and then other times, it will be several months. So it's a hit or miss, luck of the draw, depending on whether or not they get your prints and they do them. So it's weird.
Now, why is it that you guys are doing so much? It's far more efficient than I think just about any county. Well, at least the only ones I really know about are San Diego County, Orange County, and San Bernardino County, of course, Riverside County. And you are by far better than, or quicker. I don't want to say better. That's a judgment call. Not better, but you're more efficient than those other three counties. And as far as I can tell, you're certainly more efficient than L.A. and San Francisco and Sacramento and some of the other
that's
counties.
Not tough, Mike.
Yeah, but that's an extremely low bar. Why? What is going on? How are you able to do this so much more efficient than the other counties?
Yeah, there's multiple things there, but I do want to say that there are a lot of sheriffs in the state that do issue and that do everything they can to accommodate their residents that apply. But I think with the difference in us is we're a big county, obviously, but I have a group of individuals that are working for me in our CCW unit that believe wholeheartedly the same way I do that we're just exercising our constitutional rights. And if you're a law-abiding resident, you're coming to the sheriff to ask for permission, we're going to grant it to you. So they take it personal, and they work extremely hard on the backgrounds and making sure that you have everything submitted that you're supposed to submit, and that we're complying with the state requirements. And I think it's just we really do want to take care of our residents in Riverside County, and the people that I have working in my unit work extremely hard to make it happen. And we know that people don't really like delays, and we try and get them as quick as we can, and they take it a little bit personal, and they try and beat their partners and make sure that the investigations are done on time, that they're not just sitting with idle time. And so really what we like saying is the time it takes for you to get approved is going to be on you. It's not going to be on us. We're not going to be the delaying factor. If it takes you 3 or 4 months, it's because it took you that long to do your class or get your prints in or upload all your information. We're not going to be the hindrance to you getting one.
And so I mean, just that attitude is fantastic. There's this seminar I've talked about it on the air before. That there every spring for the last few years.
2 minutes.
There's a seminar up in the Vacaville area where all the sheriffs are invited, and they talk about best practices when it comes to issuing CCWs. And I don't remember if it was this year or last year, but one of your employees won their top award, which was impressive. But what's even more impressive is that you were one of the few sheriffs that actually showed up to that seminar and then celebrated with your employee on their victory. And I think that it just speaks volumes to how much this whole thing means to you. Do you want to brag on your employee real quick?
Well, yeah. So that employee, he was in charge of running our unit at that time. Lieutenant Brian Vick, or actually it was Larry Searles. He was the corporal that was running the unit, and he got the CCW Coordinator of the Year. And he was doing a fantastic job. And since then, he's retired, and we have a new corporal, Corporal Mark Skoglund, who is in charge of the unit now. And actually, Mark has taken the unit to an entirely different level. As much as Larry set the bar extremely high for Mark coming in, and Mark ran with it and did everything he could to make it better. We've doubled the applications that we can handle weekly, so we're processing more than what we were back then. So we're doing everything we can. Our employees are doing everything that they can to make sure that we're better every single day. That's
phenomenal. And I think that it's coming from the top. It wouldn't be possible and without your this is a priority of yours. It was a campaign promise when you ran, and it's something that people really, really like about what you're doing in Riverside. We're here talking with Sheriff Chad Bianco from Riverside County, who has been gracious enough to come on the show and talk about his major accomplishment of getting 37,000 additional CCWs issued in the 5 years that he's been sheriff, which they are now over 40,000 issued. Sheriff, that's outstanding. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. I just did some math, and that averages about 616 a month over the course of 5 years. But I think you're averaging even more recently. Do you have any idea what the average, how many you're issuing per month?
Yeah, the last month we did 1,200.
1,200, so outstanding.
It's an ebb and flow. Sometimes we've got a lot of applicants that have applied, and then other times it slows down a little bit. The last 6-8 months have been crazy. So we've issued, it's really close to 1,000 per month over maybe the last 6 or 7 months.
That's outstanding. Now, why is it important to you? Why does it matter?
I'm a firm believer, obviously, in our Constitution. I think that an armed society, it's an old quote, but an armed society is a polite society. The biggest thing for me is law-abiding residents don't break the law. It's criminals that break the law. And a criminal is not going to come ask me for permission for a permit to carry that gun and do it legally. Only law-abiding residents do. So if that's where you are, and if you feel the need to protect yourself, or you want to protect yourself or the people around you, more power to you. And I'm in a position to make sure that you are that person, that law-abiding resident. Will do your background. And then I believe that everyone, as long as you don't break the law or you have some type of mental issue that prevents you, we all should be carrying guns. And if that were the case, I think we would be a lot safer and a lot calmer, nicer society.
Well, I think I agree with everything you just said, and definitely appreciate the eloquent way you're able to put everything, which is one of the many reasons you're truly one of my favorite, my favorite, not one of my favorite. You're my favorite elected official. In 5 years, you've been tested, my friend. This has been an extremely difficult 5 years for anybody, let alone the sheriff of a county in California. The first thing I was paying attention that I saw you tackle was this CCW issue, and you did it successfully, and you did it gracefully. I'm not a fan of your predecessor. You obviously ran against him and won, and I'm extremely happy that you did, and you've never said an ill word against him. You've just solved the problem and marched forward, and that you should be respected for that. But then the problems after that, I mean, COVID, and then, the BLM riots, and then, the enormous homelessness / drug problem / letting people out of jail problem. And, it's unfortunate these days. There's only two sides to every issue. Everybody's completely lost nuance and the ability to, there's a line in the sand and you're either on this side or you're on that side. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But you have successfully, I think, made people happy on both sides without compromising, and certainly without compromising your principle. You've navigated all that successfully and done a fantastic job to the point where I think you've earned the respect of people on both sides, and you've criticized where there needs to be criticism without lowering yourself, without lowering your standards, by communicating the issues and saying, hey, here's what's going on, here's some solutions, here's some help. How's it been for you? Like, how are you holding up? In all sincerity, one person to another person, how's that? The last 5 years have been extremely difficult. How are you holding up?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I accepted the challenge. I knew what I was getting myself into. I don't think I knew it was going to be as crazy as it was. But in the end, I am, every night when I go to bed, I know that I'm doing the right thing every day, and I'm going to wake up in the morning to do better than I did the day before. And I've taken a lot of flack, personally, and really, I think it's all unwarranted. I think that people, what you said, where you're on one side or the other, I don't think that people really take the time to figure out what they're mad at me for. I think they would find out it's a lot unwarranted and a lot of rumor and fifth and sixth and seventh hand info, because I think that, I pride myself in my integrity, my honesty, my work ethic, and I do everything I can to impress that upon my deputies. Your deputies in Riverside County are fantastic. Like anything, we can't be perfect, but we strive to be. And in the end, I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of our employees, and I'm proud of the work that I do. And even though I'll have haters, I know they're haters just because they want to be haters. There's no truth or substance behind what they're hating me for. And so I'll just keep doing everything I can to do the right thing, to stand up for what's right. And in the end, I think that's what the voters put me here for, and I think they'll keep me here for a while.
Well, haters maybe, but gosh, you have an event and you say that Sheriff Bianco is going to be there. I mean, you're right under rock star status, which is awesome. I mean, you have so many more fans than you do haters. Now, your next challenge is, I think, from my perspective, is SB2. Can you talk about SB2 and give us an idea of how is this going to be implemented? What's going to happen? What are your thoughts on all that?
We all know, that here I'm preaching to the choir. We all know that SB2 was an immediate knee-jerk reaction by our complete anti-2A, disdain for our Constitution government that we have in California. Our Attorney General and our governor despise the Second Amendment. They despise the Constitution. And when that ruling came down in Braun and it was in our favor, they did everything they can to try and combat that. And basically, it was Constitution be damned. We're going to come up with these regulations to prevent people from being able to get a CCW. And I need to say that I'm not against everything in the bill. I mean, how can you be against additional training and making people proficient? I'm all for that. So no one would ever say that the whole thing was ridiculous. But the restrictions that they are placing on where you can carry your gun or the places that you can go are just ridiculous. And we know there's going to be lawsuits. We know that eventually it has to be overturned, because just on its face, anyone with a little bit of common sense could see that it's completely anti Second Amendment. the interesting thing about that is basically what they're saying is you can't go down a sidewalk with your CCW. So let's turn it a little bit back on them and let's just change the amendment. What would happen if they said that you couldn't go on a street corner and voice your First Amendment right?
Yeah.
Or you couldn't go into a certain place within the city and voice your First Amendment rights. It's absolutely crazy, and obviously it is against the Second Amendment. They've made it a law, and there's a lot of drama and innuendo and a lot of controversy about what's going to happen, and is this law going to be enforced? Unfortunately for all of us, it is a law. For my residents in Riverside County or anyone going to Riverside County, like everything else, our state is making it extremely hard to live here, public safety-wise. Crime is through the roof, and I have to put a priority on the things that our deputy responds to. And responding to a call for service because someone believes that, someone with a concealed weapons permit is walking down the sidewalk is going to be an extremely low priority in Riverside County. You commit a crime with a gun, we're going to be the first ones there to apprehend you and hold you accountable. But a law-abiding resident with a CCW permit, you don't have much to worry about in Riverside County.
Yeah, I talked about that on the show, I don't know, last week, 2 weeks ago. A lot of people, there are people who understandably are frustrated, but their suggested solution is, well, the sheriff just won't enforce that. And that's not how it works. That's putting unfair expectations that are completely out of line with reality on a sheriff. I mean, it's just
2 minutes.
How things work. But I do, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what my comment was, you're not going to, none of the sheriffs are going to have like a squad of people that run around looking for CCW holders, and checking or whatever. But if somebody does do a crime and they were carrying, and it is a violation of SB 2, then it'll probably be an additional charge. Don't you think that's probably the most likely scenario?
Yes. I think that's probably about the most likely scenario. You even take it on face value of what a CCW is. It's carrying a concealed weapon. You shouldn't be advertising that you're carrying that gun anyway. You're carrying it concealed for a reason because you don't want people knowing that you're carrying. So why would you advertise it? And I have a feeling there's going to be the hardcore radical people that are just going to, go into a building and demand that they come in with their CCW. And you're doing a disservice to everyone. You shouldn't be advertising that you're carrying a gun. You shouldn't be worrying about it. If you don't want to go to those businesses that don't want you, then take your business somewhere else and take care of another business instead of ones that you don't like. There's no reason to attract attention to yourself and really draw law enforcement to a scene that we don't need to be there anyway. We shouldn't be there, and it's taking our time away from other more pressing criminal matters.
Well, and it's not an effective way to fight this thing. I mean, we within 2 hours of the governor signing it,
1 minute,
we filed a lawsuit. We have a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighting this thing. We're working towards an injunction. We're not the only lawsuit, but if this thing's making you mad, rather than go make a spectacle of yourself and holding law enforcement to unrealistic expectations and standards, help us. Get involved, helping
Absolutely.
us. We're actually doing what the country is set up to do, which is file a lawsuit when somebody is file a lawsuit. Number one, and number two, trying to get the right people elected. And
that's the key right there. That is the key. I mean, and right now, the biggest one. This is our biggest person that we should be directing this against is number one, the governor, but he's gone, and we can make his presidential aspirations go down the toilet. But you have an attorney general that despises the Second Amendment, that absolutely despises the Constitution, and he's going to be running again. And he is responsible for SB 2. And we need to make sure that if you don't like this, then we need to be as vocal as we possibly can for the next 2 years while he tries to lie to everybody to tell how great he is. And we need to get somebody in there that actually cares about our Constitution and about making us safe and about public safety, and get the activist anti-Constitution people out of government. They've filled Sacramento. They're in the highest positions we have, and it's time we exercise our voting rights and get them out.
Excellent job, Sheriff Bianco. Thank you so much.